In fact, let's switch our focus to the other big chat that we have on the show today, and that's related to India's Electronics Components Manufacturing Scheme, or ECMS, that's attracted $13 billion in investment proposals, nearly doubling its target. Remember, this was announced by India's Union IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav. He stated that the government has received 249 applications with investment promises of 1,15,351 crores against the initial target that the government had set at slightly over 59,000 crores. In fact, production targets have also seen an increase, the government says. These proposals are expected to generate more than 10.34 lakh crores of output over the scheme's 6-year tenure against the target that the government had set at 4.56 lakh crores. Now, this overwhelming response also includes strong MSME participation. About 60% of the proposals received were from MSMEs. Remember, this 22,919 crore scheme was cleared by the Union Cabinet earlier this year, and this even as the country aims to deepen the value chain, reduce import dependence, and achieve $500 billion in electronics manufacturing by 2030. And to discuss the kind of participation and the scheme has received from the industry and what more could be done, we're now joined by Pankaj Mohindroo. He's the chairman at ICEA. All right, to decode the kind of investments that the government has received as far as the ECMS is concerned, we're now joined by Pankaj Mohindroo. He's the chairman at ICEA. Thank you very much, Mr. Mohindroo, for taking the time out and speaking to us here at ET Now. First things first, how effective has the ECMS scheme been so far in taking India's goal of becoming an electronics manufacturing hub? And what more needs to be done even as geopolitical headwinds, they are shifting supply chains and hence companies? So what do you really make of the scheme, the composition, the kind of interest that it's received?
So the response is quite extraordinary because I think the process was very robust. There were 8-9 months of very grueling consultations. And the tailwinds, of course, are that we have achieved scale in smartphones, $65 billion already. And overall electronics has grown to about $130-140 billion. So there's considerable scale. And what is surprising is, and it gladdens our heart also, that usually the industry growth is in tiers, which takes 5, 7, 10 years. So what has happened in this is that there is a 60% of these applicants are MSMEs, which means that the process of first establishing the tier 2, the large EMS, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, all of that has got compressed, which is a very good sign because this is not the end of it, because this core will develop a lot of ancillary industries in addition to this. But what has happened is quite remarkable. We've crossed it twice over. Now the challenge will be that we'll need more resources, because the intent is that all of them, I think 80-90% of them will get into production quickly. And people already have tied up technologies, capital, all of it. So it is really looking very robust.
Right. So even as you speak of that, let me also take your attention to China, which invested heavily in infrastructure to support new industries. Does the current infrastructure support system in India promised under ECMS, how does that compare to China's basis, the kind of outcome that we are expecting?
They have a head start of about 20 years from us. We earnestly got off the ground, you would say 2015 onwards. And they got off the ground. So there was a void of almost 30 years from 92, 96, when our industry started, electronic industry started collapsing, to 2015. So China took very important steps in creating the infrastructure. Their model was very different. They used their home market as a leverage. We are building a global industry. So, and plus there was a race among the provinces to go in front of each other, which is also started happening fortunately in India. And the state governments were so positive that the ECMS scheme, they gave schemes mirror schemes of that with very little bureaucratic intervention. So all very good. Now the gaps are still there in terms of infrastructure, in terms of predictability, in terms of ease of doing business with the state governments and with the central government also.